So, it's very much about making sure that right from the very beginning, we're in a different place to your traditional boxing movie. This is not the kind of person you usually see stepping into the boxing ring. This is kind of different. And so I wanted to do that right from the off and make sure that that was very different. Unlicensed is really a drama with boxing.
Mark, nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing very well today, and I'm sure you are too because Unlicensed just had its video on demand release today.
It did, absolutely, yeah. So it's just come out today, UK and Ireland. It's just come out today on YouTube, on Amazon, and on Apple TV. So, having had a small theatrical release where we had, some cinemas and got audience reactions, it's now available kind of widely, so people can kind of seek it out and find it, and can now. It's great to be able to share the movie with so many people now, which is just fantastic. So yeah, it's a really exciting day, and obviously a lot has built up to this day, and now we're here, and it's like there's kind of a sense of relief as well as excitement, and it's cool. It's really cool.
That's amazing. And also, your film screened at the London International Independent Film Festival.
Independent Film Festival, yeah. But that was
How,
great. We had, so we had done a small theatrical run, and then we kind of followed it with this one festival. It's at the Genesis Cinema, which is this beautiful, iconic cinema in Mile End in London, and we, to put it in front of another cinema full of people. We won the jury award for Best Feature, which was really lovely as well. So we kind of took away a little prize, which is great. And it was a super, super fun event. So yeah, it gave us another chance to experience the film with an audience. For me as the filmmaker, getting to experience them reacting to moments in the film and really kind of feeling the kind of tension, and that's wonderful. It's blissful for me.
I bet. And do you think that it felt even better because you directed, you wrote, you were the lead actor, you produced, and did you also edit the film?
And I edited it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure you probably had some extra feelings in there, but walk me through how it was the very first time you watched with an audience.
So the very first time I watched with an audience was the premiere in Cambridge, and it was a lovely event because we shot the film right here in Cambridge where I live. And so we had the premiere here, we sold out in like 3 days, we brought a red carpet, a big banner, and we made it a real big event. And what was amazing for me was sitting in that room with all those people, but then feeling like there's nothing quite like cinema, in a darkened room, everyone's eyes are on this one thing, phones are off, no second screens, and everyone's just focused on this thing. And for me to be able to sit and watch the film and feel the ripples of tension for different moments in the movie, like when there's kind of menace or threat, and feeling people really responding to that, or when my character Danny is making terrible decisions and feeling the audience kind of like saying, no, what are you doing? That was great for me as a filmmaker because I'd never experienced that before. This is my first feature. I've done short films and whatnot, but actually to spend the time on a long form project like a feature where you suck the audience in, where they really get to know these characters, and when they see those characters go wrong, it's really impactful for them because they're with them, they're on board with them. So that was an extraordinary experience for me. It was wonderful.
Nice. So it's your first feature film, and you wore 5 hats during this time, which it seems very intense. It was effortless watching, but I know it had to be intense. How did juggling these roles shape the final film?
So I used to work in film production as a runner and an AD, and so I've done a lot on the other side of the camera. I directed music videos, and like I say, I've made short films, usually with myself in them. So I'm quite practiced and rehearsed at jumping back and forth between being behind the camera and being in front of the camera. And I'm quite good at switching off the kind of actor ego and just looking at, like, is this actually working for the film, and looking at myself as just another actor in the scene rather than like it's all about me, whatever. So that was, I went into it knowing that was going to be the case, but I also I also know how to put together a call sheet, and I know how to run a set, and I was doing all of these things. So all the 5 roles that you described, like actor, director, writer, producer, editor, those are the 5 roles on screen. But like I was doing the call sheet in the morning, I was kind of production managing it. I did all the casting, the location scouting. It was kind of like the classic first feature micro budget indie where you just do whatever needs to be done to get the thing finished, right? You just have to do whatever it takes, and there's no one else to do it. You don't have the money for a unit production manager. You don't have the money, and so these things all kind of fall onto me to do. Sounds like a lot. It was a lot, but the reward you get from it is that you get to make a movie. And like, so every day would have a moment of like looking around and going, we're making a movie, right? Like, how cool is that? Like, so it was a real thrill. It was hard work, but it was thrilling every day.
That's amazing. I am so fascinated because one day I would like to also like write and direct and act in my own project.
Amazing.
Were, were there ever moments when one role had to override another?
So, one of the great things about being the lead actor in my film, I'm speaking as the director now, is that when we had to go back and do kind of pickups or we need to go and do a reshoot of something, my lead actor is always available. So I always have a direct line to him because, it's very easy to organize that stuff. So by actually reducing the number of roles, it means like if you need to spin up a unit to go and do a reshoot or a pickup, it's like actually I've got my director, I've got my producer, and I've got my actor in one. So my DOP, for example, sometimes we'd go out. We had a couple of shots we went out, and it was literally just me and the DOP, and that was all we needed to go and do a pickup of a certain shot because it was all going to be done in the sound design and post, and we didn't need the whole crew. So actually, it would just be the two of us, or maybe it would just be three people. So actually, it made us very kind of like dynamic and kind of mobile, and we were able to pivot and move very quickly by doing that. So actually, it's got huge benefits. Like, so if you can handle it, like it's really helpful because you don't, the conversations you have to have are with yourself. Like, does this work? Is this the right moment for me to do this as an actor? It does rely on you having a great relationship with your key crew members, your heads of department. So your DOP, especially. So my DOP, Jeremy Dawson, we'd worked together on numerous projects. He had DOP'd a short film of mine, the short I made before Unlicensed. And we had a really, really good shorthand. We knew what we wanted visually, but he was also my kind of safety net, if you like, when it came to scenes where you needed certain elements of performance. And that might be from me, that might be my performance. And he would be the one that he would quietly take me aside and go, you might want to just check the playback on that one, because I think you probably might want something a bit more, either from yourself or from another member of the cast that I may have not have been aware of in the moment being in the scene, because I'm in almost every scene. So like that was incredibly powerful to have like that second set of eyes really on like quality control in terms of truthfulness and performance. So that was really, really helpful, and I think that's really key to make sure that you have a really solid, trusting relationship with your key crew members.
Most definitely. And it sounds like you also have to have like a lot of trust within yourself. It sounds like there's a lot of discipline that went into this whole project.
You have to get shit done, right? You know what I mean? You just have to get stuff done, and ultimately, for me, the decision to make the feature was like, I just needed to make a movie. I wanted to do this since I was about 14 years old, and I've made a bunch of shorts, and I've done acting, and I've done all sorts of things, and whatever it was that was stopping me from actually taking the plunge and making a movie, I needed to kind of overcome that psychologically and just decide, like, it's time. You just have to do it, and it won't be perfect, and it won't, you're not going to get studio backing for your first feature. You're not going to get the, but you have to go out there and make it. And so I think for me, once that decision had kind of been made in my head, that kind of opened the floodgates to be like, well, here's everything that I can give to it, and just kind of went for it and just pursued it relentlessly.
You've mentioned working in the city yourself. Have
Yeah.
you witnessed any real life falls that maybe informed Danny's trajectory?
So I used to work as an auditor, and I used to audit a brokerage firm, and they were, and so one of the parts of the work that I would do would be to be, auditing receipts and basically kind of validating, verifying numbers. And I was looking through expenses receipts. These traders would go out after work and they'd go meet with other people from different banks. And this is how the whole industry kind of works. The kind of, the grease that keeps the machine going is all these relationships. But you'd get these receipts in, and they've been out for dinner, and it's cost them like 10, 15 grand they've spent. And it's like, you see the things that they're buying and this is like day-to-day life for them. And it just gave me a window into this this other world that these guys live in, where like they go off, they do this stuff, they're kind of expected to do this stuff, and then they just expense it and they hand it into the office, and the office signs it off and pays them for a crazy extravagant night out because it's relationship building. And I think that that sense of kind of entitlement is what I wanted to build into my character when we first meet him. Even though he's been locked up for 3 years, he still has this kind of city boy kind of cockiness about him, and it's about slowly kind of unraveling that as he has to come to terms with the reality of the world that he now lives in, which he can't go back to that world that he had, but he has got a family that he has to look after. He's got friends, and like they maybe they're not that keen to see him, but he has to come to terms with the new place that he exists in the world, and the fact that it isn't flash cars and expensive champagne and all the rest of it. It's very much more grounded, and he has to kind of come down to that level. So a lot of that was informed by, in terms of that character, was informed by the stuff that I kind of was exposed to when I was working in the city.
Wow. I know what you meant by him having that city boy feel. I also usually when I run into that type of person in real life, I don't really like them, but when I was watching the film, I noticed that I kind of liked Danny the whole time. I actually did like Danny the whole time. And I want to know how you were confident that the audience would like Danny because like he went to jail for insider trading, which is essentially stealing from the ordinary person. So how did you know the audiences would like and connect with him?
So Danny's an addict, right? He's struggling. He has a gambling addiction, which is common in the city. It's a thing that that whole buy sell, that kind of dopamine hit. It's very very familiar that guys in the city have this problem. And when there's so much money swilling around, the stakes are almost kind of meaningless. The amounts of money that they put onto things. And so the way I wanted to portray Danny was that yes, his actions were reprehensible, and the fact that he comes out of prison still thinking everything can be as it is, it's like you have this question mark of like, do you not understand? And what you come to learn about Danny is that he is everything is a facade. All of his confidence is a facade. He is hiding the fact that he has this addiction, and then we see as soon as he gets his hands on some money, we see that actually it has control over him, and we start to learn that actually this facade, as I said, that we're seeing is not the real person. Like he is desperately trying to hide what is actually driving him. And it's only when we see him start to open up to his friend John and like to start to be honest about himself, that's when we start to get under the skin of who this guy is, and we get to realize like he's a good guy. He's just done really bad things, and he's got this affliction which has taken him down really bad paths. The gambling addiction is very much the thing that took him down the path of doing things that was so risky in his work, the insider trading stuff, the desire to win, that ended up with him being in trouble because, addicts are incredibly good at hiding their addictions from the people that are around them, the people that love them, and Danny's no different.
Yeah. The film subverts the traditional boxing movie formula because Danny's fight, as you said, is with addiction. What boxing films inspired this one, and then how did you consciously push away from their formats?
So right from the very beginning, I wanted to do something different from a boxing movie. So your typical boxing movie, certainly British boxing movies, are typically about a kid from the streets or a working class kid who rises up and does good and all the rest of it. And that's kind of the model. So right from the off, I was like, well, instead of that character, why don't we take a guy who's had everything? Like he's not had to fight for anything in his life, and then put him in that situation where he learns like actually there are some things you have to fight for, and then as you say, the boxing becomes the kind of metaphor for his actual kind of struggles, which are really with himself and the affliction that he has. So it's very much about making sure that right from the very beginning we're in a different place to your traditional boxing movie. This is not the kind of person you usually see stepping into the boxing ring. This is kind of different. So I wanted to do that right from the off and make sure that was very different. And it's Unlicensed is really a drama with boxing. It's not a sports movie. It's not really about boxing. The boxing kind of has a place in it. And I always love the fact that Stallone always talks about Rocky, and he refuses to allow it to be called a sports movie. Like, it's about a guy. It's about a guy who's trying to find his place in the world, and that's very much what Unlicensed is like. It's about a guy who's trying to figure out how he fits into the world around him, and he sees there's an opportunity through boxing for him to do something which he thinks is going to be great, and there's a question mark over it, whether or not it's a good thing for him to do at all. Like, he probably shouldn't be doing this, but he feels so driven to kind of prove himself that he kind of gets himself into a corner. But as we see, like right at the end of the movie, like for me, the win for him is actually what happens when he starts to seek help. Like that's for him is the moment when he starts the journey towards his true kind of healing. That's for me. That's the end of the movie.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I feel like when he opens up, we do see a different side of him. And I also see, like, whenever he can be honest with himself about the gambling addiction,
Yeah.
um, there was just a big shift in the movie. And I'm curious to know how you grappled showing the self-deception to the audience without making it too obvious because you acted, you wrote, you directed, like you knew the story.
I felt that it's an act, right? So when when you've got an addict who is covering for themselves and the things that they're doing and hiding from the people around them what they're actually doing, it's all an act. And so I basically allowed Danny to be putting on this front, and it's a front of someone who is one of these guys who's in the city who has to project confidence and all the rest of it, but there's this other layer where actually he's suffering from this thing and he can't let that possibly be known. He can't let anyone be aware of that thing. So actually this projection of this kind of confidence and this idea of like being quite casual about things and not appearing not to take things seriously, like that's all an act. And we slowly, like I said earlier, we slowly peel away that stuff to get to the core of who he is, of who he really is, of how scared he is, of how insecure he is, and the things that he's struggling with. But then also this realization that actually there are people there who care about him. There are people there who want to help him, and they want him to be okay, and want him to be happy, and they want him to do well. And it's almost as if he has to learn, or he has to accept that there are people out there that would do that for him, because he's not really felt that before. He's always lived this life of excess and projecting the things that he wants the world to be, or he thinks the world should be, and actually forgetting that there is support there if you allow it to come to you. And that's a huge part of his journey, is around like eventually opening up to people and being just truthful, telling them what's going on. And then we see those kind of quieter moments, and we're like, that was always there, but it was behind a mask.
I like how you waited to show the audience that. I feel like when that is done in stories, we kind of know about it immediately and then we see the main character trying to hide it from everyone around them. But
Yeah.
it's like we almost learned with Danny that he was had an addiction.
It was very deliberately wanted to drip feed it to and in fact, in the earlier cut of the film, it was too gently drip fed into it. So when the big moments come, you were like, oh, where did that come from? So one of the things I learned from the test screening was like, actually, we needed to foreshadow this a bit more and get the balance right between not being too explicit, but actually giving the audience enough. Because in the first cut of the film, we hadn't given the audience enough for them to latch on to go, oh, hang on, there's something going on here. And so the other things came as a surprise. So that was one of the huge benefits of doing a test screening for other filmmakers, which was like, this is where your story is not working, or where this is coming out of nowhere, and where you need to go and fill in a gap to make this clearer. But it was a real balancing. It was a real like delicate balance to be like feeding enough to the audience that they would know what's going on without, like you say, feeling like, oh well, I know the story now, kind of thing.
Right. Whenever you did have those test screenings, did you have to go back on set and fill it in that way, or did you
Some
record?
of it, yeah. So we went back and did some reshoots of a few things. It was very, very small. It's amazing how much you can adjust the tone of an entire scene by just having a cutaway or an extra line of dialogue or something, and it's remarkable how much you can do with very little. So our reshoots were actually quite minimal, but we did need to do some. So we went back and we would create some little micro sets of just a close-up of something, or just me in close-up with just the background that you'd see. Literally outside of frame would be like something completely different and out of position and out of character. So, we were quite kind of surgical about like exactly what shots we needed and where they were going to go that was going to help us just tell that bit of story.
Editing your own performance is creates a very unique perspective. Did you find yourself being harder or more forgiving about the choices that you made, even as an actor or a writer or a director?
I think that I was all as an editor, like I was always just trying to work out what's best for the film. Like what is making the film better, and it's whether and that's not my, like I say, my personal kind of actor ego didn't really ever come into it. There was never a moment where I was like, oh, but I look better in that shot. It's like, this is the shot that works for the story, or this is the moment that's truthful, or this was what helped. So, like I said, I'm able to switch between the actor ego and the kind of filmmaker kind of persona fairly easily. So I don't have that worry about like, oh, this isn't as good for me as that other shot. But actually, the other shot, if this is the shot that tells the story best, that's always the one you're going to. It's the same with technical challenges. You see in films quite a lot where there may be a shot that's maybe slightly soft or slightly out of focus, or there's some technical problem with it, but the filmmakers have gone with that take because that was the best performance. And actually, when it comes down to it, it's the performance that matters more than whether it's technically perfect. Like if it's not truthful, but it's perfectly shot, then the audience disengages, and you need to keep your audience engaged.
If we were meeting 1 year from today, what would you hope we're talking about?
I'd hope that we're talking about what it was like for me to go to the Oscars for the first time, and like how incredible.
I mean, actually, I've never got that answer before. That's a great answer.
Yeah, the question I'd really like to hear is like, so how does it feel that now that you've been confirmed as the new James Bond? Like that's amazing. Like that's what. No, I think like for a year from now, I would love for us to be talking about my new film. I have another project which I'm hoping to go into production with spring, summer next year. I hope we'll be talking about how that is nearly ready to be released, or that is sort of coming out. I'd love to be talking about how Unlicensed has been released around the world, and how it's done, and how people really like the movie, or how it's really connected with audiences. And I'd love to be talking about loads of amazing acting jobs that I've been offered since Unlicensed came out. That'd be awesome.
Oh my God. Okay, we got a dreamer over here. A dreamer turning things into reality. Mark, thank you so much for your time and thank you for meeting with me. I feel like I learned so much today.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. It's been really fun.
Awesome. Have a good one and congratulations on the release today
Thank
again.
you.